Last year, I covered everything that is known about Humanoid Studios, the newly founded company by the creator of Mass Effect, Casey Hudson. And while I'm sure we're all excited for more information about the sci-fi RPG they're building, fact is, this is not the only RPG in a science fiction setting that's getting worked on by BioWare veterans. You see, back in 2018, the longtime BioWare creative director James Olin, who's responsible for games such as Dragon Age, Baldur's Gate, and Knights of the Old Republic, decided to leave BioWare in order to start up his own publishing company called Arcanum Worlds. But not long after this announcement, Wizards of the Coast, the famed publisher of games such as Magic the Gathering and Dungeons & Dragons, among others, announced that they were establishing a new studio in Austin, Texas, with James Olin at the helm of the studio. And by January 2020, the studio was revealed as Archetype Entertainment. And to make things even more interesting, two other rather known individuals from BioWare joined the Archetype team, this being both Chad Robertson and the one and only Drew Karpyshyn. Now, the mention of Drew Karpyshyn should have piqued some interest for a few of you watching, and this is mainly because of Drew's involvement in several of BioWare's best-selling franchises. First and foremost, we have Mass Effect, of course, a franchise of which Drew was the lead writer for Mass Effect 1 and 2. But before that, he was the lead writer for Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, a game that made the Mass Effect franchise possible in the first place. And of course, to no one's surprise, he's now the lead writer for the new game that Archetype is developing since February 2020, meaning that he was on board from the very start. This was something that Drew mentioned on his own website, stating, "I'm proud to announce that I'm the lead writer for Archetype Entertainment. Founded by James Olin, the creative genius behind BioWare hits like Baldur's Gate, KOTOR, and Dragon Age, Archetype is a new video game studio under the Wizards of the Coast umbrella, and I haven't been this excited to work on a project in a long, long time." Another interesting statement made by Drew was his then opinion of what made BioWare great back in the old days, stating, "I've been in the video game industry for 20 years now. When I started at BioWare, everything was fresh and exciting. It was a dream job. Talented people working together to create epic games like Baldur's Gate, KOTOR, Mass Effect, and Dragon Age. But as we grew and became more successful, things changed. We became more corporate. We were less able to make what we loved, and the teams were pushed to create games based on market research rather than our creative instincts and passions. My dream job became just a job, and I lost the enthusiasm and excitement I once had. But with Archetype, my passion has been rekindled. The feel in the studio reminds me of my early days at BioWare, and I can feel the magic in the air. And even though I can't get too deep into the specifics of what we're working on yet, we're already generating plenty of excitement in the industry." And then Drew linked to an article by Games Radar about the news. Now, looking at Drew's blog statement here, it's pretty clear that he was excited for the project back in 2020, and hopefully he's as excited today as he was back then. Now, just to make it even more interesting, since the reveal back in 2020, Archetype has hired several veteran developers that have worked on other studios as well, like Naughty Dog, 343 Industries, id Software, Santa Monica Studios, and more. These studios, of course, being responsible for some of the biggest AAA titles of all time. Games like Uncharted, The Last of Us, Halo, Doom, and the God of War franchise. And hopefully we can expect this new game to be of similar quality. But now that we have an idea of who's working on the game, let's go through the details of what we know about the game so far. Which, to be honest, isn't really that much, but let's do it anyway. First and foremost, as I stated before, the game is a role-playing game set in a science fiction universe. And this much is clear from the concept art that Archetype has provided us with. Scrolling through their official website showcases that there's going to be a lot of heavy sci-fi elements. So expect lots of space, planets, and ships, and it wouldn't surprise me if the game took at least some inspiration from the Mass Effect games. Sort of like what we can expect from the game that's in development by Casey Hudson's Humanoid Studios. Some statements on Archetype's official website also give us some crucial information about the game. Like this one, saying, "We are assembling a world-class team to build a multi-platform role-playing game set in a brand new science fiction universe." And then a statement by Chad Robertson saying, "The tremendous opportunity and challenge we have in building a new world-class game studio isn't lost on us. We're leaning on the experience and talent of our entire team to create what we believe will be the next generation of acclaimed, narrative-driven role-playing games." So first and foremost, thankfully, the game will not be exclusive to any one platform. And hopefully it'll be developed for PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. And who knows, maybe even other platforms. We also know from the statement from Chad Robertson that the game will be narratively driven, so again, think Mass Effect, Dragon Age, KOTOR, and Baldur's Gate. Now, to what extent this will be is not clear, but I would assume some form of dialogue wheel or similar structure to be in the game. Of course, this is just speculation on my part, so don't expect that unless Archetype says so themselves. However, one statement seems to point in this direction, saying, "At Archetype, we believe there will always be a place for story-driven role-playing games that put the player at the center of an epic personal narrative with impactful choices. We are building games that represent the diversity of our audience. We also believe that game studios should empower top developers and challenge them with ambitious projects that are shaped by strong, clearly communicated creative visions." And below that, we have James Olin stating, "Archetype is a chance for us to build the type of role-playing games that we love to play. Video games are a uniquely interactive medium. They allow us to give the player powerful choices that have real consequences on how the story unfolds." So it very much sounds like the folks over at Archetype are building a game that is built around choices and outcomes. And when you think about it, it very much sounds like a game made in the same spirit as the Mass Effect franchise. Now before you ask, no, we don't know whether the game will be an action RPG like that of Mass Effect or something that's more turn-based and tactical. One thing that I want to mention though is that if we look at the concept art pieces on their official website, there seems to be a pretty hefty focus on exploration. Of course, this is just concept art, so we can't really gather that much actual information on it, and it's also possible that this is just generic art supposed to make you think about science fiction in general. Now, the most recent news from the studio is that they've partnered up with Blur Studios. Blur specializes in CGI visual effects, animation, and design, and they're mostly known for creating animated films, ads, and video game cinematics. What this could mean is that either Archetype is already working on the cinematics for the game, since this partnership was announced back in March 2021. And because it's now been over 2 years since this announcement, I'd say it's highly likely that we'll soon see some form of cinematic teaser trailer, or perhaps a showcase for what the game looks like in its early stages. Again, that's just speculation, so take that with another grain of salt. In any case, the future of this project is looking really bright as of now, especially because of some key individuals being attached to this new game. With the creativity of James Olin and Drew Karpyshyn at the helm, combined with the skills of individuals who have worked on some of the biggest franchises in gaming, this is making me personally super excited for this game. But then again, we also have Casey Hudson's project and the next Mass Effect game to look forward to, so what I guess I'm trying to say here is that sci-fi and RPG fans are gonna be eating good in a couple of years. Yeah. Now before you ask, yes, I will be covering all these games the more we find out about them, so remember to subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this little breakdown. Alright, leave those thoughts down below, and as always, have a great day. Mr. Olton, signing out.